There's something about real-time strategy games that I've enjoyed ever since I was a kid. Whether it be the various strategies of wiping out your enemy, the large-scale armies of hours of turtling in your base, or even the camaraderie of playing with friends on a rainy Saturday afternoon. But if you're like me and have grown tired of the array of real-time RTS games currently on Steam, then you might be in luck here. Enter Beyond All Reason, or BAR for short, a free and open source game that's been around for a few years now. Something else that drew me in were these insane multiplayer matches that have just so many units in this game. It's been something I've been looking for ages now. This game started as a modded port of the once popular Total Annihilation game. Some of you might actually remember that game. And since then, the devs have turned this small passion project into a game that now receives regular tournaments thanks to their close-knit community. But will it be a game for you, even if you're unfamiliar with the RTS genre? Well, my name is Marco, and this is Easily Distracted Games, helping you find new or old games that you can get lost in. So let's get started with today's new video. Many people out there, even if you're a hardcore RTS player, may have not even heard of Beyond All Reason. I must admit, I do get hesitant installing a game's custom launcher, but with BAR being free, it did perk up my ears. It's also open source, meaning that you can view all their code's infrastructure directly on GitHub. Something quite rare and something I quite appreciate. I mean, how often do you get this much transparency in a game like this? Drawing inspiration from the classics like Total Annihilation and Supreme Commander, BAR breathes new life into this RTS genre. I mean, my gosh, the first time I played Supreme Commander and launched this incredibly large robot that wiped out my friend's base, I was instantly hooked. And I've been searching for a similar feeling ever since. And BAR might just be the one that does that job. Resource management lies at the heart of BAR's gameplay, with players tasked with gathering metal and energy, the only two resources needed in this game, to help fuel their epic war machines. However, don't let the simplicity fool you, as even just playing your first game, you'll often be left baffled with trying to understand why you're constantly out of resources and the enemy is already on top of you. This still happens to me even after hours of gameplay, yet I'm still enjoying every match that I play. But if you're enjoying these videos and would like to find a game to get lost in, perhaps consider subscribing if you haven't already, or just leave a like or comment to help other people find great games. So for those unfamiliar with real-time strategy games, most offer AI or online head-to-head matches. So with BAR, you can play against bots, or your friends, or even large-scale online battles. Before jumping into those online games though, I'd highly recommend starting off with some of the basic campaigns or the skirmishes that give you a basic grip on the game, as they're close as to a tutorial as you're gonna get. The aim of the game is to basically obliterate the enemy using various means of attack, and as well as defense, ranging from land, sea or air in these epic large-scale battles, often frantically keeping your base running smoothly while deploying different strategies to overpower your foes. The game offers multiple winning conditions, usually in the form of removing the enemy's color from the map, or just their commander, or even other means with BAR's large array of custom options, which gives this game so much freedom I should actually start a counter for how many times I'm going to be mentioning it today. You'll start by placing your Optimus Prime-like commander down near some metal, and with your enemy dropped on the other side of the map. You'll need to extract this metal to help build more units and structures, as metal extractors can be then built across the metal outcrops scattered all across the map. But you'll soon need energy to help power everything, which can come in the form of wind, solar, geothermal, and even nuclear. Your commander can then build the basics. You're going to want other units to help pick up the slack. Bot labs produce land units as well as construction bots to help build, repair, reclaim, or even resurrect other units. And if you want to get a little bit fancy, you can place construction turrets in your base to help assist you. It's pure genius. And that's another point to the freedom that you get in this game. In something like Age of Empires, most units will have one or two actions: attack, defend, maybe heal or patrol. But with BAR, you can have up to 8, maybe even more. I have no idea, it just keeps going. Take a land unit for example. You can assign it to a task, but you can make it repeat that task or assign it to multiple tasks, or even tasks within a certain radius. Yes, it's incredible and it's something I've been wanting for years now. That's another point to the freedom aspect. For example, you can turn on repeat for a bot lab to constantly produce the same unit. Or you can give this insane movement orders to your various units. After playing this game for some time, it's honestly such a struggle to go back to other RTS games. I mean, look at the way that you can just control these units, make them go in the spread formation. I love it. I say freedom, but it's more about quality of life improvements. It's rare to find a game where the devs actually listen to what the players want and actually implement them. There's just so much to do and choose from. It's a bit like being a kid in a candy store. Every time I thought, man, I just wish I could do this. Nope, you can do that. Even in the settings, it reminded me of opening the notepad editor in old school games in order to edit those settings. But here, there's just a plethora of options to tweak and fiddle with until you're fully satisfied. Or you can just play the game as is and still find hours of enjoyment. I remember downloading various mods on other RTS games to open up all these kind of options, where bar is just like, yeah, we'll just give you the whole cake and eat it. And I haven't even got into the units and gameplay yet, so strap in. Alright, great. So now you've placed some buildings, you've set up some metal extractors and energy collectors. Now what? Well, by now the enemy might have already started sending units your way. Defense structures come in useful here with the likes of turrets, walls, maybe even your own units, but it's all about trying to claim all that precious metal across the map and seizing more territory than your enemy can handle. Navigating your environment is a breeze once you know what's what. I mean, just look at that zoom. From the whole map to almost the nuts and bolts of your various units. Most games are like, no zoom for you. Multiplayer communication also plays a fundamental role here, and you can actually see teams of up to 25 in Beyond All Reason. Let that sink in. 50 players in one single match. Did I mention this game has scale? Usually communication in other games involves rapid pings or offensive text chats, but here you can go as far as drawing on the map or even labeling the various sections. You can also share resources or even other units with your buddies. So useful when you're losing and you need all the help you can get. And this help is most noticeable when choosing what attack units to build and deploy. The game totes over 400 units in the game, and they're not joking, ranging from the basic infantry units to these huge flying monstrosities or even just straight up mech warriors. One of my subscribers actually mentioned that this number might seem intimidating, but your initial games won't be using a fraction of these. There are only 2 factions in the game at the moment, which might leave players wanting some more variety, but I did find that the variety comes from the simple multitude of various units to play with here. For me personally, I just enjoy making tons and tons of tanks and land units and then just turtling them and just sending them in a big bunch. And that's another point of freedom here. I mean, in massive multiplayer games, you can just be the person who makes vehicles or just aerial units. And once you get the hang of the game and jump more into the multiplayer side, you'll know that the big games involve a backline who just focus on economy and defenses, and the front line who just focus on gaining territory and attacking the enemy. I'm still very much a beginner though, so I just clearly stick back to the backline, and I'll get back to the online PvP soon. But I must say, these units are just so cool, each of them doing their little part in this large-scale warfare. I mean, just look at these models here. I often find myself just zooming in and seeing what's going on. Most of the time I'll just press Control and F7 and witness these epic battles unfold right before my very eyes. Everything just looks so polished in the game, down to the various units movements and just how the game looks overall. When it comes to map design, I was very impressed here. You get a whole bunch to choose from, but you can even tweak how the teams are placed. Map complexity isn't bad, you get a few biomes to choose from, ranging from the standard land and sea, to Mars-like barren terrain, to even just these steel structures like you're fighting in a factory. One thing I truly appreciate with RTS games are their attention to the details, and Bar is no different. I really enjoy the little things like witnessing rockets fly out of the units, following them to see where they're going to be landing, or seeing the deformation in the terrain after multiple blasts of explosives. There are some flora and fauna scattered around to help bring the maps alive, but it's just how the game runs that's going to be determining how your eyes are going to adjust to the game. And just listen to these sounds. Man, it's like these explosions linked to the soundtrack. It's just like straight out of a Hans Zimmer or Michael Bay movie. I never found myself bored listening to the various songs, and it just really enhanced the overall vibe. I don't know what the devs are doing under the hood, maybe it's the homebrewed engine that they're running, but the sheer scale of bar is amazing and can be staggering at times. This game is still in alpha, so there's still a long way to go here in terms of optimization. You can get by on a decent PC to run, say, some of the smaller games, but when playing anything around 8v8 or having tons of units on the screen at once, it can really heat up your rig pretty quickly. My i5 laptop with its Nvidia 2070 sounds like a jet engine about to take off with some of these large games, with the frame rates dropping quite dramatically at times. Although I did manage getting 60 frames a second for most of these games, again, tons of graphical options to choose from here. I will say that I did pick up numerous bugs in the online multiplayer. It wasn't the best experience with regular connection drops and desyncing, but for the majority of the games, they ran without a hitch. Games will often last 30 minutes to an hour, with large-scale battles going on for much longer than that, so don't think of this game as a quick play in between lunch and work. Bar is a game that you'll want to be dedicating at least an afternoon or evening to, and because it's multiplayer, it's highly recommended to play with your friends, even if they're new to the genre. You'll need an account to play because, yeah, you can't just add friends from Steam for your multiplayer matches, and for some reason it just keeps logging me out whenever I open up the game, so hopefully that gets fixed soon. Another thing to add is joining online team games can be somewhat cumbersome at times, but once you're in, the gameplay will give you enough replayability that you'll just want to keep on playing. Tons of maps, different modes, playing with others or just on your own, there's just so much you can experience here, no matter the type of player that you are. When it comes to RTS games, I'm no professional, and often I just enjoy building enough units and now these insane experimental units, and it's just so much fun, especially with friends. Yes, there is a slight learning curve, but slap on some easy bots and after 2 or 3 games, you'll be saying the words like efficiency and optimization constantly throughout gameplay. Another thing I'll add is that the UI of the game is somewhat lacking. Yes, I know the devs aren't the first to jump to aesthetics, but I just felt like the menus, especially the ones starting in the game, they just feel a bit unpolished, and same goes for the post game where you can see all the graphs just going off to nowhere. But I'll forgive them because the game is free and still in alpha, and these alone won't stop me from returning to the game. And then what about the player base, you might say? Yes, having a large player base really helps online competitive games, but if that isn't your scene, you don't need to worry here. And for me, I don't really jump into a lot of these online games myself. So if you're not about that life, you can always just get other players to join you for some really enjoyable co-op battles against the bots, as those can be just as fun. But hopefully this video serves as a guide as to whether or not Beyond All Reason is right for you. In terms of technicality and complexity, more options can often mean more micromanagement and even more macromanagement in a game like this. So people wanting something more might be turned off here. But for those wanting massive Pacific Rim-like warfare with more military than the US Army, then this is definitely the game for you. Also, it's free and doesn't take up that much space on your PC, so I'd say just test it out with some of your friends for an afternoon of just pure tomfoolery. So that wraps up today's video. This is Marco here from Easily Distracted Games, guiding you to find your next gaming obsession. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comment section below. And also don't forget to stay tuned for my next video, as you might be finding the next game to get lost in.
Oh shit, there's a no.